Hello, good evening. I'm listening to Paranormal Radio, and, well, since you're interviewing a man who talks about UFOs, I'd like to tell you about an episode that happened to me here in Santa Fe. I'm Claudia, and, well, I was a teacher for a long time. I used to travel out to the small towns near Santa Fe, San Carlos, and San Jeronimo Norte. One day, it was 6:30 in the morning, and because I didn't have much of a salary, I used to hitchhike. I knew people who could give me a ride from Santa Fe to those places. At 6:30 a.m., I was at the intersection of San Carlos and Route 19. And, well, a bright light appeared to me, like a bright star that came down to the field where I was standing, a very green, bright color. And, well, at that moment it was wonderful for me. I have a very beautiful memory of that. But the strange thing is that I don't remember when it became morning because I saw the light, I saw that thing that came down, and suddenly it was already morning. So I wanted to share that experience. And at that moment, the people from San Carlos told me that they heard a loud noise, and no, there wasn't any bad weather, it wasn't cloudy, there was no lightning, no thunderstorm at any time. Well, have a good night watching the show. I just wanted to share my experience and see what you can tell me about those things that happen.
Back in 72 or 73, I don't remember exactly. I was a girl, I was coming back. I used to practice athletics at Lucy Fuerza, and my mom would come pick me up at night. And while we were training, the coach at that moment said, "Look at the sky," and you could see. We climbed up onto what were the soccer stands at that time, and you could see up in the sky a striking stain. It was still day. So it was a very big stain, very, very big, as if it was towards Lujan, red on one side and blue on the other. But it was really big, and, well, a lot of fear. At that moment I was saying, we're going to die. What happened? What's going to happen? Well, my mom came to get me so we could go home. It was already dark, it was nighttime, and the stain could still be seen, and nothing. After a few days, according to what my mom told me, I don't remember, but she says they were tests in Chamical, but really no, nothing more was ever known about it, and those stains never appeared again. But I got really scared. I was little, I was 12, 13 years old.
Hello, Hector. Good evening. The show is very good, very interesting. All the stories are great. I think everyone has a particular story, something paranormal. Personally, I had one about in the spiritual sense, and then in, let's say, things related to UFOs or extraterrestrial topics. I don't know what to call it. I happened to go to a place in Córdoba where I saw many ships, real ships, ships that are something more than just technology. Because our technology, as far as we know, is something that, let's say, can fly, that can move fast. But when it disappears and appears somewhere else, it's like, it's something really crazy. When it appears close to you, it's even more so. Personally, I had an experience in Córdoba where a ship approached me and kept getting closer and closer, closer and closer. And when the moment came that it was very close, I got scared. I made the sign of the cross, and as I did that, it disappeared. It was such an experience that I went back to the same place several more times, even to take a photograph. I would think that it's not just one ship or just one race of beings. Because as far as what I believe, well, it's like we all believe what we see. But I did see several ships of different shapes, and seeing that they have different shapes, it would be a matter of logic that they are different races. We can be and are different races. There are blonde people, red-haired people. Similarly, I believe there are races in the universe as well. And I also somewhat agree with what the myth says. Let's say the people who believe in this, that they're not among us. I think they've always been here and always are, because I've also seen some really, really strange people. It could be that people who are strange know they're strange and look at you as someone who already knows they're strange. But the crazy thing is, when you look at that person and without seeing you, they turn around and look you in the eyes, knowing that you're looking at them. That's what they have, like a much higher sense of something we still can't figure out. Because I think human beings are very, very powerful. It's just that our powers are dormant. And that ties in a bit with the issue of why so much information is hidden. Because, well, I think it's not in the government's interest for us to be very awake. Rather, they prefer us to be asleep and unaware of many situations. So, well, that's a bit of what I can share. I also want to congratulate the radio and the listeners who share their experiences. So, greetings to everyone and great show.
Thank you, Hector. Good evening. My name is Pablo. Look, I'm from here in Montegrande, and I'm about 25 blocks away from where that supposed gas cylinder exploded. I remember that night I was lying in bed with my wife, and I felt like something was running over the roof tiles, and my roof started to vibrate. The roof vibrated a bit, you know? The windows were vibrating too. To the point that my wife and I got up, we were already awake. And well, we already found out that supposedly it was a gas cylinder, but honestly, we're about 25 blocks from there, and a gas cylinder doesn't do that.
How are you, Hector? Good evening. Regarding the Montegrande explosion, I was nearby. I was at the Amphi Club. I was around there. We were with a friend, and what we saw was a very bright light, quite bright, kind of blue-green. Something like that, and a few seconds later the explosion was heard very close. About 3 seconds later, something like that. My friend's cousin, the one I was with, works at the Montegrande fire station, and well, he was on duty that day for the fire. He told me now that no, it wasn't a gas cylinder, it wasn't an explosion caused by something domestic, but rather it was something that fell, everything got covered. There were cases of people who were paid not to talk, and people related to National Aeronautics and Space Administration, let's say, went there to cover it up. They took several things, leaving everything else in the middle of nowhere.
Not only is it not an implosion, I'm listening to the program, not only is it not an implosion, but it's something that they tried to cover up the whole time. Because it's clear it comes from outside, from information beyond just paranormal. There's something out there coming that we don't know about.
Thank you, Hector. Did you see that there's a pretty shocking video of an unidentified flying object that was seen in Brazil during a news broadcast? I just saw it on YouTube through Chronica. The journalists are such idiots, those fools who always treat these things like a joke. Honestly, it doesn't look fake, it looks pretty real. An object passes by at an incredible speed, like 10 times, 20 times faster than a plane does. When we see a plane from the sky and it flies by at a low altitude, it was a disc-shaped object. Quite impressive, the video. I'm letting you know so you can investigate it there on the show.
Hi, how are you, Hector? My name is Roxana Fernandez. I live in the town of Manuel Alberti in the Pilar district, Buenos Aires. I wanted to tell you that since 2017, when I had an infection, there is a being that speaks to me telepathically and, well, tells me, teaches me many things and gives me various energy frequencies, who says that these are energies I acquired in past lives and that when I had already reached a high level of technology, also in other life cycles and in several of my lives, that all those experiences make virtues and gifts emerge. So all of that is stored in a body of light that later, in a certain life, it's time to bring all that information down to your consciousness so it becomes part of you again, because before all that information was separated and you weren't aware of it. So, well, I have those experiences day after day. In fact, I was able to heal some people with that energy, and once I teleported from one bus to another, and in 2021, I saw a very big spaceship when I went to Córdoba at night. When I was 10 years old, I saw another one. And, well, those are my experiences. I hope to tell you that I have a lot more experiences. Big hugs.
Hello, Hector. I'm Rosie from Córdoba. I wanted to tell you about something that happened in the summer of '82. González Catán, Buenos Aires. We were at the river with my parents and my siblings. It was a very crowded day. And, well, a huge ship appeared, really, really big. It hovered over the eucalyptus trees, almost touching the eucalyptus trees by the river, by the stream. Morales, and it slowly left and disappeared. That's when we heard a child crying. He was behind a tree with a bicycle. This boy said he had gone out in the morning to buy something, early in the morning, and, well, it was around 5 or 6 in the evening. De Moreno said the boy had gone out. and we were in Gonzales Catan. We put the bicycle in my father's car, and we took the boy to the Gonzales Catan police station. And, well, I always have the urge to someday go to Buenos Aires and visit the Gonzales Catan police station and find out something about that boy, who at that time must have been about 8 or 10 years old. I was 17 back then, so, well, that was it. I have the urge to someday be able to find that boy because I'm sure he was abducted because it was around 5 or 6 in the evening. The boy left Moreno at 8 a.m. on his bike to run an errand. He wasn't sunburned or sweaty. He couldn't have ridden that many kilometers on his bicycle. So, well, I hope you like my message, and I hope that someday I can find that boy. Kisses, thank you.
Hello, people from Trust Noche Paranormal. How are you? Good evening. Look, I'm going to tell you something that happened, but I was a kid. Regarding abductions, I'm not sure you can remember one since they reportedly occur in dreams. Also, a teenager and I don't know, out of nowhere, it's like I started to get scared. I was afraid of aliens. I said they were going to come into my house because, well, reasons. I don't know, but I was so scared. I just got it. I mean, where did it come from? I don't know. I had an understanding. I mean, it was something I didn't understand. Why was I afraid? Every night I was scared like that. I don't know, Well, with one, I was on some kind of table or stretcher. Like I lift my head a little and look to the side. And I had it right there. It had a big head, kind of grayish, a little green, light colored. I don't know how to explain it. And the only thing it said to me was, stay calm. Nothing's going to happen to you. Don't be scared. You know what? After that dream, never again. And it's like the fear went away. And after that dream, I saw people chasing me. No, that's all. I just wanted to tell you it's been a while since I spoke on the radio. I was there at the beginning, at the start. I took a long break and then I came back like everyone else. Best regards.
Good evening, I'm Veronica, 57 from Buenos Aires. It was the opposite for me. They tried to abduct me, but they couldn't because I have a strong personality, I think. No, I don't like anything mystical at all. I never get involved with anything esoteric, nothing. I'm not into any of that. This was back in, I think, 2017. I went to bed, and in the early morning, I guess it was, I started to see while I was asleep, in a dream. But it was a vision for me, a ship that was floating above the roof of my house, but on the side of the window facing the street. It was huge and rough. The ship was dark gray, nearly black. Several tall extraterrestrials with distinct eyes, not the short ones, were there. I heard them talking. They came to take me from my house. I could sense what they wanted to do, almost like telepathy. I knew they wanted to take me out, so I got terrified. I didn't want to leave for anything. I fought it. They yelled at me, they spoke, but in another language, like a dialect, they said strange things. I had another dream again where I also heard them talking, and they also speak like that. They speak in another language. They called out, Veronica, Veronica, shouting my name to get me out, but couldn't. And it's like, no, they didn't know. They didn't expect that. I think they believed that if saying my name would make me faint, right? They'd either take me out or I'd fall asleep. So they choose the other option, shooting me. They pull out a shotgun, maybe one or two, I can't recall, and shoot a green liquid. When it landed on my body, it landed on my arm because I hid under a table. It stung me. It was an acid. It seemed it had to touch me to make me sleep, but it couldn't, so they left. I was terrified and then woke up. Well, thank God they hadn't taken me. Well, Hector, I love your show and enjoy listening to the stories. Greetings to everyone.
Hello. Good evening. I'm Claudia from Córdoba. And, well, Hector, it's a real pleasure. Honestly, I always listen to you. Mostly I watch you, okay, on YouTube. Well, honestly, my story goes back to when I was very little. Almost every night out of a week of 7, 4 or 5 nights, they took me. They would absorb me, yes. They took me out of bed, and it was like they were absorbing me. I tried to hold on to the walls, to the doors, but, well, they abducted me, they took me. What I can say is, at just 4 years old, my parents often found me standing alone in the yard early in the morning. This happened very often, and they always said that I was sleepwalking. That's the word, sleepwalking. Well, I knew I wasn't. I never wanted to tell, never ever. Only now am I opening up. I'm 58 years old. Only now am I opening up about all this. Because honestly, beyond having lived 6 years in Capilla, where I had so many experiences, I've had so many experiences in my life. I can tell you, I don't know the first one, which is this one. Tonight I dare to send you this audio through this platform, which I thought of. It's really good. And well, when I came back, usually my body was marked with something unexplainable. And well, to my friends, to my family, to those around me, when I was very little, I didn't want to talk about it because I doubted that it could happen to anyone else, since I never heard anyone talk about something like this. So I always kept quiet, here well with my soft voice, since I always have a rather low tone of voice, except when I sing. I hope you can hear me. And well, sorry in this case if my voice is too low. I'm sending you a big hug from heart to heart. You're an incredible person. I'm sending you a hug. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to us, for having this space.
Well, when I was little, my brother and I were playing at home in a small town in Corrientes. It was the afternoon nap time. It was around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, something like that. We were about 4 and 5 years old, or 5 and 6. I'm a year younger than my brother, and then the door opened. There were 3 gray beings, the famous grays. We got scared and they told us not to be afraid, that they came in peace, and we were paralyzed. They paralyzed us. We couldn't move. The communication was telepathic, and among themselves they were saying if my brother stayed, they wanted to take my brother because they saw that he was a very, very good person, and if he stayed here on earth he would suffer a lot. But the other being told him no, that they couldn't take him. They couldn't take him to their planet because he would miss my mom a lot. When they said they wanted to take him, I started to feel desperate, and I wanted to grab him. I wanted to move, and I couldn't. I was paralyzed. They paralyzed us. Then it was like I lost track of time and space, and I found myself in my room. We were playing in my brother's room, and I found myself in my own room. And I feel like an obstruction, like they let me go and I can move. I leave there to see if my brother had taken him, and he comes out of his room. And we meet in the middle, and we're really happy because they had left it for us. And we go in, well, to tell my mom, but my mom, imagine 2 little kids telling you, Mom, the aliens tried to take my brother. She didn't believe us and just said, go play. After that, I started feeling something in my head. I'm convinced that I have an implant, an alien implant. If you had the technology to track that, it would be great. My brother remembers they took him to the ship and put things in and took things out of him. I don't recall that part, but the story goes on. Later, when we were older and Channel 9 had arrived, the show Infinito began, and that's when they started talking about extraterrestrials. They looked just like the ones we saw, big heads, dark eyes, and they produced implants. So that's when I realized that ever since then, whenever I rested my head on the pillow, I felt like something was bothering me there. I would touch my head and it bothered me, and to this day I still have it. It could be, right? I don't remember when they took me to the ship, but there is a loss of time and space, because I was in my brother's room and they left me in mine. But he does remember being on the ship. Well, if you're interested, I'll tell the story better later.